It was business unusual as the protest in more than 30 counties disrupted business.
Plus, angered protesters go after property owned by leaders who support the finance bill.
Well, good evening and welcome to the program. Our Southern Arbiter is David Agondoa. Let's start where we should. And Federation of Kenya Employers and Kenya Association of Manufacturers are urging the government to reconsider the contentious Finance Bill 2024.
They say they are in support of the people challenging the bill.
It is not business as usual, not even in Parliament. The cause? Reject Finance Bill 2024. A movement that has brought hundreds of thousands of Kenyans marching in the streets across the nation to show their disagreement with the contentious finance bill that was at its final stage in Parliament. In turn, many businesses remained closed in at least 34 counties where the protests were held. Speaking to Nation on phone, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers Chief Executive Anthony Mwangi said, and I quote, "The questions Gen Zs are raising are about the PFM, government priorities and accountability on the taxes. KM supports these issues fully since the essence of taxing businesses and individuals is so that the government can better serve its provision, not just fund government bureaucracies." The association added that as much as this may have been a tight balance because many people do not carry out their duties, but yet again, the conversation is about economic issues that affect businesses. It's about losing business today, hoping to achieve positive outcomes in due course. On the other hand, the Federation of Kenya Employers says businesses have not fully recovered from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Finance Act 2023, which had far-reaching impact on operations, with the current protest exacerbating the challenges by creating an environment of uncertainty and anxiety among employers, employees, and Kenyans as a whole. A statement from FKE Chief Executive Officer Jacqueline Mugo reads, and I quote, "We encourage the government to actively listen to the demands of the youth, particularly those from Generation Z, who are at the forefront of these protests. The concerns and voices of our young people and Kenyans must be heard and considered. We urge the government to reconsider the contentious finance bill." Another round.
All right, and we now have been informed that we can take you to State House Nairobi, where President William Ruto is addressing the nation, preparing to address the nation. I beg your pardon, the shots should be coming right to you. Let's take a listen, and we'll be here to give you a run back as soon as he finishes.
And freedoms of questioning of public authorities by a section of law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Kenya was infiltrated and hijacked by a group of organized criminals. Most regrettably, today's attack on Kenya's constitutional order has resulted in the loss of lives, also destruction of property and desecration of institutions and emblems of our sovereignty. Today's events mark a critical turning point on how we respond to grave threats to our national security. I assure the nation that the government has mobilized all resources at the nation's disposal to ensure that a situation of this nature will not recur again at whatever cost. I thank our security officers who were on duty today for applying themselves to the best of their abilities in the defense of Kenya and its people. Accordingly, I have directed all the organs of our national security to deploy measures to thwart any attempt by dangerous criminals to undermine the security and stability of our country. As the people of Kenya go to bed tonight, I give you my assurance that your security, that of your families and property, remains my utmost priority. To the young people of Kenya, who I must thank for helping our country organize our democratic discourse around issues, I thank the conversation you have begun around pertinent issues of our nation will continue to inform our policy and governance. As I promised on Sunday, this conversation will not be in vain. I will not only champion for the cause of issue-based, policy-oriented, and tribeless engagement on critical national issues, but also provide a framework for this conversation to be processed and its outcomes implemented. However, must be conducted in a manner that respects and foundational conversation on any subject matter must be conducted in a manner that respects and honors the foundational values upon which our nation is established, namely constitutionalism, the rule of law, and respect for institutions. It is very painful for Kenya that a conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people who have caused us the kind of loss we have incurred as a nation today. It is possible that the criminals who rained terror on innocent people and attempted to challenge our law enforcement deployments are still determined to continue with their dangerous behavior. I assure the nation of the government's determination to fulfill its constitutional duty of protecting the people of Kenya against all forms of harm. I hereby put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy. It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion. I shall continue to lead a government that is fully committed to maintaining the integrity of our state, promoting the unity of our nation, and enhancing the peace and security of all citizens and their livelihoods. I am bound under sacred constitutional mandate to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution of Kenya, which declares that all sovereign power belongs to the people, and that this power shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution. The government will therefore uphold its constitutional mandate to secure our nation and its development, and shall treat every threat to national security and the integrity of our state as an existential danger to our republic. Accordingly, I assure Kenyans that we shall provide a full, effective, and expeditious response to today's treasonous events. Thank you.
That is President William Ruto in his State of the Nation address that started just a few minutes ago, just from where he ends. He says that today's events were treasonous, and he has assured the country that his government will mobilize all resources to make sure that the situation of this nature will never occur again. In that speech that we've just listened to, he's directed the organs of the national security to be deployed measures to make sure that these events that were seen today do not reoccur. He says that the protests today were hijacked by dangerous people. He says criminals who are planning and financing and abetting those criminal activities have been put on notice. He's gone further to say that the criminals who are pretending to be protesters have attempted to hijack the constitutional order of the Republic of Kenya today. That's the President William Ruto. They are talking to us about the state of the nation and the interpretation, the characterization of what has happened today from his office. He says we must isolate the criminals from democratic expressions, while thanking the young people in his speech, saying that the young people must be thanked for bringing politics or bring issue-based politics as opposed to tribal and other types of politics.
Indeed, a firm-speaking president there, and he did say that he would champion those engagements on critical issues as well. All right, well, we will delve deeper into that in the coming days. Now, the Occupy Parliament protests took an unprecedented turn on Tuesday today, as a section of demonstrators managed to breach security and gain entry into the bicameral House, quite literally setting in motion a series of chaotic scenes inside and outside of Parliament.
Well, several protesters were shot dead as police fired live ammunition in an attempt to push back the youth who had outmaneuvered and outnumbered the security team stationed to guard the House.
Members of Parliament, a majority who voted in favour of the bill, were forced to scamper for safety through an underground tunnel in the building. NTV's Zainab Ismail with an account of what transpired.
As members of Parliament finalised considering the Finance Bill 2024 through the Committee of the Whole House and finally passing the bill through the third reading, hundreds of protesters who were engaging police officers outside Parliament managed to push through the barricades and overrun the police and made their way into the House. This despite heavy gunfire and tear gas. The lawmakers, a majority who voted for the bill who were having lunch, had to quickly flee through the underground tunnel and evacuated to the Bunge Towers across Parliament, as a section of the youth outmaneuvered the police to enter the building through the Senate entrance. This broken fence, evidence of the violence witnessed here. Some of the opposition legislators who voted against the bill managed to walk out of the besieged building as they tried to speak to the protesters outside the building. In the ensuing chaos, the protesters set a section of Parliament ablaze. Both speakers of the House took to their heels in quick succession, their security detail and aides following as screams of the rioters grew louder and nearer. Security officials fired live ammunition that left several of the protesters dead outside Parliament. The youth who stormed Parliament left a wave of destruction inside and outside the august House. Will the damage
outside and inside Parliament is evident. You can see these posts that were broken by the protesters when they managed to get inside Parliament. But as at around 5:30 p.m., the situation has appeared to be a little more calm as police have increased their numbers here outside Parliament and pushing back the protesters. Earlier on, the situation was quite intense as a section of those protesters made their way inside Parliament. The damage is as this: broken windows, tables and chairs overturned, flag displays smashed against the floor. The level of vandalism raising questions of how the demonstrators managed to breach such a secure building. By evening, the security officers had managed to secure the building and the wrecker squad sealed it off. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Well, now, police fired on demonstrators trying to storm Parliament buildings, killing at least 5 protesters, with sections of Parliament building set ablaze as lawmakers inside passed a bill to raise taxes.
The protesters overpowered the police who had barricaded sections of City Hall Way. More than 50 people were wounded by gunfire and rushed to various hospitals. Rose Wangoi has more details.
Thousands of protesters engaged in running battles with the security officers firing rubber bullets and tear gas to break up the crowds. The push by the protesters came just as MPs passed a controversial finance bill that introduced unpopular tax proposals. Police could be seen using live bullets in an attempt to prevent the youth from accessing the building, with protesters approaching from both City Hall and Uhuru Highway. In chaotic scenes, protesters overwhelmed police and chased them away in an attempt to storm the Parliament building. It was at this point that police reportedly fired live ammunition at the protesters, killing at least 5 people as protesters overran the security protocols and set some police cars ablaze. According to a statement by human rights groups, more than 30 people have been injured, with 13 of these people shot with live bullets, 4 with rubber bullets and 3 hit with launcher canisters. One person was shot dead, was wrapped in a Kenyan flag and carried away. Several bodies could be seen lying outside Parliament buildings. Sirens blared as ambulances drove into Parliament amid fears of the shooting of several protesters. The number of casualties could, however, rise. The unrest came as youth in at least 30 counties took to the streets to protest against the finance bill. Rozongoi, NTV.
It has indeed been an historic day in Kenya's history. At this point, we've got to take a break. There is more on the other side. Don't go far.
Your dreams have come true. Try it for only 20 shillings.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, the build-up to protesters occupying Parliament was preceded by a standoff that lasted for hours between police officers and protesters